Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm your host, Paul Guyon. Most business owners think they have a lead problem, but what they really have is an attention problem. They're constantly resetting the deck, restarting the clock, chasing conversations instead of creating them. Drew Griffin, it's great to have you here. This show is about how businesses actually grow. And I'm going to tell our audience a little bit about you, but businesses grow through better systems, leadership, and execution. And I think you and I are cut from the same cloth because you're a developer. And I spent a lot of years writing code and then got into leadership and don't do much coding, but today it's a lot easier. than it used
It
to.
sure is, yes.
Drew, let me just tell you a little bit about Drew. He started out in healthcare, as did I, hyperbaric wound care nurse before launching one of the earliest diabetes tracking apps, which remarkably reached 50,000 downloads in just 2 weeks, which is pretty amazing. Since then, he's built a network of newsletters reaching millions and now helps founders and consultants build what he calls a fortified list, an owned audience that turns attention into a business asset instead of a constant chase. And why this matters to founders, especially, are working hard, but they're working inside a system that resets every month. Outreach, follow-up, chasing interest, and it's exhausting, unpredictable. It's a pain to do that, and we all know it. Even when they call in, it's feast or famine sometimes. So what Drew is talking about is a different model where attention becomes something you build once and compound over time. So the real question is, what changes operationally and what did it take to make that shift work in the real world? So it seems like you're describing the shortening the gap between awareness and action, kind of speed to trust effect when someone's already familiar with you. Drew, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on, and I know we're both looking forward to spring as it's starting to peak out. I have a bunch of snow in my backyard. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of it.
I know. I'm pretty much done with the snow until next year. It's always nice to have a nice little coating or two, but I will
Yeah,
certainly welcome spring with open arms.
yeah, for sure. So let's just dive in. There's a point when chasing leads becomes unsustainable. What was that moment for you, and what made you decide to stop optimizing the chase and start building something you owned?
Yeah, first of all, Paul, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege to be on your show and to speak with your audience. I am excited to be here and share some of this knowledge with you. So, to answer your
Mhm.
question, the transition from healthcare and into the development slash agency side of things wasn't always smooth. At first, it was pretty good. We were doing pretty well and growing an agency and working with a bunch of clients. And then the competition started coming in and it became infinitely, I wouldn't say infinitely, I would say it became very challenging to connect with decision makers, and business was not doing so well. Our business, our agency was not doing so well. In fact, there were many months where we didn't generate any revenue, in fact, negative revenue. And
Mm.
that's not a good way to operate a business, particularly when there's a partnership involved and multiple families and a lot of uncertainty. So my
Yeah.
business partner and I decided we had to do something about this, right? We had to switch things up and find a different way to go about doing business and being able to connect with those leads that we were so good at making. But it was a moment where we needed to make a big decision, either close things down or do something drastically different in order to turn our business around.
And what did that look like operationally? You had to retool not only your way of thinking, but how did that look? What changes did you make in your operation to make that happen?
So we recognized, and thanks for the question, we recognized that this was going to be a big challenge. And we were never really salespeople at all. So we needed to learn to
Yeah.
sell better, right? We had challenges. We were developers. We knew how to do all the technical things. So we knew that we needed to switch things up in the way that we were approaching prospecting and having those sales discussions and creating what's called as you're well aware of, a sustainable pipeline. And we tried everything, right? And we just didn't make anything click until we said, we have to change something drastically in our business. And what is it that most of these businesses need that could allow us to get through the door easier as well as build something for ourselves, build something for our agency that wasn't so dependent, wasn't codependent on us making an initial sale right off the bat. And so we decided to switch the model a little bit into something that we call an asset-based agency, where we commanded all the attention, where we could lend the attention that we possessed, much like your podcast, right? You have a very large list of people that subscribe to your podcast. They listen to your episodes, episode in and episode out. And much
Hmm.
like that model, we needed to flip the switch a little bit and command what everybody else wanted in our local communities. We wanted to control the eyeballs, the ears, the attention of the audience that they were trying to attract, the very people that were their consumers, their customers of those businesses. So we looked at Facebook and Instagram and all these different channels that were out there. What did they have that we didn't have? Why were all these businesses seeking the attention of the newspaper? Why were they paying attention to Facebook and spending money with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all these different channels that were emerging? And we realized it. They all had the attention. And our thought was, if we could harness that very same attention and point it anywhere that we wanted, to local businesses, to local organizations, local individuals who are trying to get a leg up, trying to attract new customers and clients, then we would be able to possess something that would make it infinitely easier for us to connect with those businesses and point that attention in their direction. Most businesses get this. They've been doing this type of business for years with local newspapers, radio stations, and television stations as well. So operationally, we knew that instead of us having to try to sell something to them, why not just point the attention towards these local businesses in a little bit of a different framework?
So tell me how that works. I was interested in how you were bringing attention into your business, and then you shifted to directing attention towards others. How did it start? Did you start with yourself, or did you start just pointing directly at them first?
Yeah, we started with ourselves first. And
Yeah. How did that look?
yeah, so many local marketing agencies and marketers in general, they don't really market themselves. They talk about
Mhm.
the thing,
Yeah.
but you never very rarely see, oh, we run a local marketing agency and we help with X, Y, and Z. You never see that. So we decided to do it, but a little bit differently. We
Yeah.
decided to operate our agency by proxy, and we built a local email newsletter. First, it started off with a Facebook page that harnessed news, events, business, crime, sports scores, all kinds of stuff on a local level, right? Because we were trying to reach local businesses. And what we
Mhm.
found and discovered was the attention that most people have. Think of Maslow's hierarchy, right? There's level of needs. Most people are genuinely interested in what happens to them locally first. Local news, local events, the weather, the traffic, local crime, all those sorts of things are genuinely interesting to people that live wherever they live in the world. Like I'm in just outside of Philadelphia, in a small town called Douglasville. And
Mhm.
people are interested in what's happening with the school district. They're interested in what's happening with the police department. They're interested in what's happening with the local sports teams, et cetera, et cetera. And when we started to serve that up to local people, we found we were able to build a massive list, right, in a small town, particularly in our town where there's only about 20,000 people in our town. We were able to build a list, an email list, and people following our Facebook page to nearly 17,000 people in this small town. And we're like,
Wow.
huh, that's interesting. Now, what if we leverage this and started talking about local businesses? When we did that in advance of people and in advance of meeting these businesses and said very nice things about them, boy, suddenly those doors opened up wide, really wide. For example, we did a poll. We just said, hey, who has the best pizza in the Douglasville, Pottstown area? And my goodness, the number of people that voted for this business or that business was absolutely through the roof. People were voting
Huh.
for hundreds and hundreds of comments. They were all opinions of who had their best pizza in the area. So the strategy was this. if we could leverage other people talking about businesses, like their favorite pizza businesses in the area, Sal's Pizza or Argento's or Island Pizza or whatever it might be, they would be tagging those businesses on our page. And the attention started to say, wait a second, what's going on this page? There's hundreds of comments happening on this page. Now, the next day, we would walk into these businesses and introduce ourselves, not as our Acme marketing company, but the local media asset or the local newsletter that ran that poll. And as soon as we walked through the door, they were like, oh, you are the guys behind this? And it was like they were ushering us past the gatekeeper to talk to the businesses. And there must have been 40 or 50 pizza places in the area that were tagged. Our prospecting went from 0 to 50 at like 100 miles per hour. And one day we were literally introduced to all these different businesses. And right at that moment, we knew that we were onto something. Like, it was just infinitely easier to connect with these businesses and be really cool about it. Like, really talk about their businesses with affinity, not in a salesy type of way. And at that point, doing business beyond that with all the cool things that we knew how to do became a lot of fun to do.
So who does have the best pizza in the area?
I would say in my area, it's Charlie's Pizza. Actually, they're in Philadelphia, but Al's is, I haven't passed by a pizza that I haven't liked. It's very difficult to answer that question.
Yeah, for me, it's Piper's Pizza, and it's up in Harbor Springs, which is about 2.5 hours north of here. And when we go visit there in the summer and in the fall, we always go on Monday. We're going to have Piper's Pizza, and then on Tuesday we're going to go to the paper station, and we got to go to Tom's Mom's Cookies. By the way, that's the best cookie in the world, Tom's Mom's Cookies. That's very interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting that your newsletter content would be all about converting leads and that kind of stuff, but it was public interest, just public interest stories. And what did your feed look like? How did you do the research to get the content to do that? Was that pretty easy to do, or?
Oh yeah, it's like back then when we first started it was a little bit more manual. So we ended up doing a lot of manual research, local newspapers, and we have some really great friends who are reporters. They do a magnificent job. And we actually like to share the attention. We forward it over to their newspapers all the time, summarize their content and post. But most people, when they get started in this, they think, oh, where am I going to find the content? There is so much content.
All over.
It's all over the place, ready at our fingertips. And we're more or less a curator of this content. And it's a lot of fun to do it that way.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, when you talk to a business owner about starting a newsletter, they don't want to talk about anything but themselves.
Yes.
And how do you overcome that with someone who's maybe, people are already predisposed to your way of doing things, but still they're afraid. They're afraid when they said, if I'm going to do a newsletter, I'm going to start with a quarterly one because I don't have the time. Or they really should be doing something much, much more regularly than that, because people will forget about you pretty quick.
Agreed.
But how do you get over that with business owners who are afraid to really dive in?
We leverage it, right? We lean right into it because a lot of people do have an ego. And if we think about it, people have spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy building out their business. And one might agree that it feels good every once in a while to have that permission to talk about yourself, to talk about the cool stuff that you do, the great products, the great services, the great food that you're putting out there into the world. And when somebody shines the spotlight on you and says, hey, why is Piper's have the best pizza in this area? Right? Or why does Sal's have the best pizza? Why do all these people, there's hundreds of people that said that we need to come in and taste your pizza, right? Instantly, friends. You're absolutely friends at that point when you can shine a light in front of their business to 17,000 people every single morning inside your newsletter. It's a magnificent push. It's also dangerous too, right? Because you can send a tremendous amount of traffic to somebody's business and really almost shut them down. You got to be careful about this. So I guess that Spider-Man saying is, with great power comes responsibility. And with this, it's a great opportunity to shine the light on people that are doing really exceptional work inside local in the local area. And even for those that are not getting a lot of attention, giving them a little bit of a push. So it's all about community, right? We're able to help them help themselves with just a little bit of attention. And we lean into it, right? We have a great way of writing that content and writing their stories in such a way that it's complementary and also provides value to the readers to give them a reason why it's not just a bragging, boastful type of article. There's video footage, there's content that promotes that business and the cool things that they're interested in getting the word out about events and their specials and all kinds of cool stuff that they've got going on. One example is we have a local comedy club, and they do an exceptional job bringing in talent from all over the world right here in our
Uh,
backyard. And a lot of people just don't know where the business is. But because of our newsletter, we're able to fill the seats, like 2,000 seats at a time
Wow.
for these businesses, this particular business, and the headliners and the musical acts, they all appreciate it because they get the opportunity to play to a filled stadium or a filled audience, which is, it's a great feeling knowing that you can help a business like that or a band or a performer of some sort get the attention that they duly seek.
Wow. So you mentioned pipeline and revenue. We're going to talk about revenue here in a minute. How
Yes.
did things shift? How did they change with your pipeline once this started to work? And it sounded like it started working pretty quickly. What does
Yes.
the before look like? I think we touched on that a little bit, not just in activity, but revenue flow. So
Yeah. So
before and after.
before I was weeks away from going back into healthcare, which I didn't want to do. It was long hours and very, believe it or not, very dirty, demanding work. And it
Mm.
was very traumatizing. So that was a big incentive for me not to do that. Going weeks without and months actually not bringing in revenue and therefore an income, that's very difficult. And then afterwards, getting that pipeline filled, almost immediately being able to shift gears and say, hey, we've got more to offer you in the form of advertising and other things that we knew how to do behind the scenes, like website design, development, lead generation, Facebook ads, all the stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
And so it became a natural conversation as opposed to fear based, where you're going in saying, would you like to buy my stuff? No, it was, hey, I've got an idea that I'd love to get your opinion on. We learned this from a guy. His name is Matt Easton, a sales trainer, who has
Uh-huh.
been fantastic for our business. Basically, 7 to 8x our entire revenue over the years, and we just made that pivot, right? So once you publish somebody, and you pivot and you say, hey, I want to come back next week and share the results of that campaign, because not only is it in the newsletter, right? 17,000 people with a 70 to 80% open rate every single day. That's a lot of people, a lot of traffic that we're sending to that business in advance. No money exchanged or anything like that. At that point, I think we have the right to pivot and say, hey, I've got something that might help you if you want more of that attention. And 9 out of 10 times, mostly like a 9.9, there's very little pushback at that point. We're just having a conversation because now we're friends. It's like, hey, Bob,
Yeah.
I've got an idea that I'll have to get your opinion on. We sent that article out last week, and so many people opened up, and so many people loved your business. Does it make sense to get you in the newsletter a little bit more often? Maybe you can contribute an article, maybe some advertising inside here. Does it make sense to shift your advertising dollars from Zuckerberg and Facebook? By the way, I love Zuckerberg. I love Facebook. Switch it from where you're not getting results to where you're actually getting results. And most of the time they converted into something, whether it was an advertising partner or some other type of campaign where they needed help with something specific in their business that we knew how to do from a digital perspective, or maybe even starting their own newsletter, or perhaps Facebook ads or something along those lines. At some point, at the very least, we walked away with new friends and new opportunity for referral partners. They knew exactly what it is that we did, our repertoire, our roster of services that we provided. And suddenly, the people that we were befriending became really good friends and referral partners out into the community, whether it was the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary, or other businesses that they were associated with.
So that was a long answer, but there's a good one. Obviously, the revenue from that took off so that you didn't have to get back into healthcare.
Correct.
What was that like?
It was magnificent being able to essentially work from home at my own pace, my business partner's pace. Being in business by yourself is quite lonely. And having not to look over your shoulder at your revenue became less of a race to get that next paycheck. When you have an operations that you can actually grow the business and grow multiple newsletters and start to sell other products and services, it was a game changer for us. And we haven't looked back. We've been using this for nearly a decade now, and
Mm.
it's completely changed the trajectory of our agency.
So it's dialed in pretty good. Where did deals come from now that didn't come from before? Or was it never? It's all chasing.
Yeah, it was all chasing. And now it's a lot of referral based and a lot of as a wait list to get onto our advertising for our newsletters. We teach this as a course as well to other agency owners. A lot of software deals because we really love making software that solves problems, individual problems for various businesses, enterprise level applications, and even some smaller SaaS. That's where a lot of the revenue is coming from now. We've got partnership deals with ads inside of our newsletters, as well as consulting gigs and all kinds of stuff. Our agency has grown in multiple ways. We've launched 7 enterprise level apps. We'll have 8 in the upcoming weeks. And we
Hmm.
have 18 of these newsletters as well. So we're pretty busy.
Wow. Walk us through what it looks like week to week, not just the content part, but the full system, audience growth, engagement, how that connects to monetization. And you've touched on a couple of them. And it's
Mhm.
just, sounds like it's just so natural. It's like an organic expansion of that attention. Once you've got the attention, it just grows from there. And all you need to do is get in front of someone and have a conversation. Is that pretty much all it is?
Yeah, you've nailed it. You start organically, and then certain organizations come out of the woodwork that may need some help. And within those organizations, sometimes they're well funded, sometimes they're not well funded, sometimes they're nonprofits. Not to say that nonprofits aren't well funded, but sometimes there's different opportunities in different areas. We're not always looking for a buck that's being transferred. We're looking for partnerships inside the community where within those types of organizations, there are some pretty powerful people, some people that are well connected, people that have connections and make things happen inside the community, whether it's with a dollar or whether it's by word of mouth. We're always looking for those opportunities to support organizations and at the same time also become sponsors ourselves within organizations and movements that really need the boost within our community. The local baseball team, the youth baseball teams, and you've
Mhm.
got Meals on Wheels and all kinds of different organizations where we can leverage that in a good way to bring more attention to their organizations and by virtue back on us as well as the de facto local news organization. And we look at our competition, the actual local news, the newspapers and news outlets as colleagues. They do an exceptional job. Ours is a little bit of a different model where it's supported by its users. And from the revenue perspective, things just seem to pop up from time to time where people are testing their waters a little bit. They're like, "Oh, okay, let's see this. And I'm not used to this kind of attention." And then once they see the conversions in it, then they want to explore it a little bit deeper, which there's plenty of time, plenty of energy for that involvement. We've got lots of folks that are operating it. I've got my daughters that are involved. I've got other stay-at-home moms that are involved, all kinds of people that are involved in the organization. And that's got to
Hmm.
be probably one of the best feelings ever is that when somebody is working 8 to 12 to 16 hours a day and they just want to work from home on their laptop and do some really good exceptional work, we put them to work and it's not really work, they're just enjoying it, they're enjoying spreading the word about what's happening in the community, and we're delighted to do it.
Yeah, I like the serve first way you started this up. I don't know if you had premeditated that, but that's what that is you said, okay, instead of serving ourselves, we're going to serve the community. And in turn, that turned into a major blessing for you. And and it's reciprocal. And you didn't really, I don't think you really knew what was going to happen when you started that, but it's remarkable. So what a great story. Where does this model fall apart? Who shouldn't do this, or where have you seen people try it and fail?
Our system is systematic. It's a double entendre there, but it is systematic. We've tried all kinds of different things from the
Hmm.
technical side of things. Those that are looking for a quick buck, sure, you can make it, but it's not sustainable. The giver's mind, I hope you don't mind me saying it, I was educated by the Jesuits. Men for Others, went to Jesuit high school, Jesuit college, and it was our ability, it was a privilege to be able to serve other men, other people, other mankind first, men for others first. And I think if you have that mentality where you can serve that first, the money's going to come, right? But everybody
Yeah.
wants that advertising dollar. Everybody, but if you don't have subscribers, if you don't want to serve your community, it's just not going to work. Right? We've seen it happen time and time again where somebody launches a newsletter, they don't advertise, and oh, this system doesn't work. Yeah, if you're expecting people to advertise with you, you need to advertise as well. Advertising works, it's really great. But on the back end of it, the element of wanting to serve others first is probably going to serve you well in the long run. But you also have to be willing to talk to people. There's a lot of people out there that, oh, I just want the computer and the newsletter to just print cash for me all the time. It can happen. It certainly can happen for sure. But you have to be willing to reach out to people and be willing to feature them, be willing to talk to people, be willing to sell consultatively. And I think that's a big reason.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, though, is that if you shine a light on someone, that just opens the door for you. For those of us who don't like to sell or are afraid to sell or are more comfortable behind the scenes, that just makes walking into the pizza place and talking to the owner a lot easier to have that kind of conversation. So you're just greasing the wheels and not in a bad way. It's like you said, a serve first way.
Sure.
Yeah. So for someone listening who doesn't have an audience yet, what's the simplest version of this that they could test over the next 60 days without blowing up what they've already got?
Yeah. So the easiest way to do this is probably to start with a Facebook page and be less concerned about the numbers, right? And I always put it this way. Oh, I have a newsletter, or I want to have a newsletter, or I want to have an audience. I don't have one just yet. Be careful what you wish for, right? And also be very less impressed with the number of followers and the number of people that are liking your page and subscribing to your newsletter. And I'll put it this way. Pick any holiday that you want, whether it's Easter, whether it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, your birthday, or whatever it is. And I want everybody that's listening, to consider this. I want you to invite 100 of your closest friends to your next party and tell me that you don't have a lot of people at your house. A lot of people look at 100 and say, oh, I only have 100 people. 100 people is a lot of people. Try to serve 100 people food, drink, wine, beer, turkey, whatever it is. That's a lot of people. So be less impressed about the numbers and just think about serving all the people that are paying attention. They are paying attention. That is exchange of attention for what it is that you have. Start with a Facebook page. Get one person and connect with them authentically. Connect with 5 people authentically. Start something and say, hey, invite your next 5, 10 people, 5 friends, family members, whatever. I'm starting something. Please support me and let me know how I'm doing over the next 30, 60, 90 days. And you'll be surprised. You'll get momentum if you've got consistency each and every single day. If you really want to serve your community, look, it's just going to happen organically. The technical side, we can handle. We can show you how to do all that kind of stuff. And it becomes a lot more fun when you actually have an asset that you can exit from. Some of these newsletters, by the way, people are exiting from these newsletters for millions and millions of dollars, right? The average person that subscribes to a newsletter, right? The actual cost, the national average is about $3 per acquisition. We're getting them for about 15 cents per subscriber. Now, on the other side of the equation, the value starts around $25, all the way up to $400 per subscriber when you exit from your newsletter. The math on that is absolutely boggling. So the time to get started is now. Build your own, and there's no competition. Even if you have somebody that has a newsletter in your backyard, or one of these media assets in your backyard, do another one, right? Have you ever heard of Pepsi and Coke? They're on every shelf that's out there in every supermarket that's out there, every grocery store that's out there. They're not looking at each other as competition. They're really colleagues in making sure that everyone is satiated with their beverages. And you can do the exact same thing with content in the form of a newsletter.
Now, how do you let's say you want to become the authority for credit unions. Maybe
Mhm.
you're an agency and you want to be the go-to for credit unions. How would you approach that?
Yeah, even if it was for like a credit union, you wanted to help them grow, I would probably reach out to that credit union because most credit unions are talking about credit. They're talking about finances. They're talking about refis. They're talking about all those types of things. And each and every single bank or credit union in that local space is trying to reach customers and clients. They're trying to reach more bankers, people that want to become members of that credit union. So tell the
Mhm.
story, tell the local story first, because that's what they're mostly interested in. And then it trickles down into their finances. A lot of people are afraid of their finances. But if you start to educate, inform, and entertain them directly through the newsletter, where you're reaching them every single day and have that permission to reach them every single day with really good quality content, when you're educating, informing, and entertaining them on that stuff every single day, you become the de facto expert, whether you are the credit union or you're working on behalf of the credit union. So if they're partnering with you, that's a great way to feature them and put them out there into the world and let them become the de facto expert in that backyard. That would be my opinion. For those that might not be running it right now, or that might be listening to it and they're members or they operate or they're an officer of the credit union, there's no better way. In my opinion, you can reach a lot of people when you're not always talking about yourself. You're talking about everything else that people are interested in. This is a really good way as an end around. It's almost like a Trojan horse, if you will, from Monty Python or one of those types of stories.
Yeah.
But it allows you to connect with people in an authentic, interesting way that most people will appreciate first.
Yeah, I love it. So this is I hope you don't mind if I ask this question.
Please.
When things were negative and you were trying to feed your family, what did that actually feel like day to day? You touched a
Wonderful.
little bit on it.
Yeah, anxiety. I was worried. I was fearful. When I was working in healthcare, I missed a lot of time. I missed a lot of time with my daughters who were growing up, a lot of time with my wife. There were times where I would work almost 18 to 20 hours a day. At one point, I was driving home from work one night. I'd been doing doubles every day for 2 weeks. Doubles meaning 16-hour plus shifts every single day because we were shorthanded. And I fell asleep at the wheel. And I don't mean to freak out your audience or anything, but whether you're a believer or not, I am. And I got tapped on the shoulder. I felt a tap on my shoulder. I woke
Mhm.
up and there was a deer in front of my vehicle, right in front of my car. And I missed the deer with the exception of its hoof. And that reminder in my head was almost a metaphor for you have to do what it takes to take care of your family. So I had the choice whether I could just fail or I can learn from this. And I think my God put me in a position of growth at that point. And I needed to learn to sell. I needed to learn to do something different. And more so, after I learned this lesson, I had the good fortune of being on podcasts before. And of course, your show now to share that message is just when things seem to be really tough and there's no way around it, sometimes there's a solution that's put there right in front of your eyes and in your being for a reason. And we did it. We
Yeah.
learned it. And we've taught this to countless people that have now gone on with successful newsletters and agencies, and they touch a lot of lives that we have never had the opportunity to unless it was through something like this where they could go out and help people in their backyards in Tennessee and internationally all over the place. And in some way, I think that was all a moment where I needed to learn something from our despair and
Yeah.
just learn from it. It was great.
Yeah. Your guardian angel was tapping you on the shoulder there.
100%.
That's, yeah. Yeah. So we're wrapping up here. What are three things that our listeners can do today to move in this direction? You've touched on it a little bit.
So I think the first thing is just assess where you are and maybe look at how you or other people are doing business. If you're doing well, keep doing that. By all means, keep on doing it. If you're struggling and you need something a little bit different, maybe it's time to look at doing things a little bit differently, right? What the asset-based agency model is, where you flip the switch. And if you can control the attention and point it in the direction, be the giver's mind, switch it to, hey, let me serve other people first, I think that's going to help you. It's going to motivate you. It's going to put you in a position where you have a lot more power. And thirdly, put a system into place. I would listen to Paul's show here. I would continue to listen and listen to the guests to see what's most appealing, something that has magic in it for you, and do that, right? Find something that has magic in it for you and do that. For me, it's the newsletter. I think it's a great way to express ourselves through the written word, through video, through all kinds of content, and allow us to partner with local businesses in a way that doesn't really lead with us pushing sales at first. Certainly there's a sales component to it. And if you're interested in that, we'll certainly be able to help you with that within our program.
Yeah. So, and tell us about that. You can learn about Drew here. Tell us a little bit how to connect with you and your company, and what can they expect.
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. This is entirely free for your folks to come in and listen to it. In the past, we've sold this for $2,500 on up, but this is our way of giving back and being in a state of gratitude to show other people how we were able to do it. The best way to do that is head over to localnewsletterlaunchpad.com. And what that will do is you'll be at a landing page. You can just click one button. It'll take you into our school group, SKOOL.com. There's a community inside there. They can join it completely for free. There's 4-course module in there. And essentially we take everybody from 0 to 1,000 subscribers in under 30 days. It's nearly impossible not to get to 1,000 subscribers. And then what we tell people thereafter is this: if you want to go past 1,000 subscribers, keep doing what we taught you in modules 1 through 4. And you go from 1,000 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, and so on and so forth. As long as you want to continue to grow, the system will be there to serve you. And then everything that we talked about today, you can decide how you want to operate your business, whether you want to sell advertisement or you want to sell them anything else that you've got going on in your business, from SaaS to website design development, life insurance, whatever it is that you sell in your day-to-day operations, you can leverage this to do that.
I've got a couple of guys in mind that in my men's group that would really I'm going to turn them on to this episode. What about, this just occurred to me. What about people who don't have a local presence? How would that work?
You get started, right? So if you don't have a local presence, you can start one pretty much anywhere in the world, right? We recommend leveraging Facebook. And even if there's competition, it's really easy to start with one, right? It's easy. It's free to start on Facebook. And this is a great way just to start talking about the content that's out there. Even if you're a local business, maybe you're not trying to be a marketing business or an agency of any sort. This works for chiropractors, it works for physicians, it works for life insurance people, works for massage therapists. It doesn't matter what your industry is. If you're trying to attract local presence, that's great. If you don't have a local presence, if you're working in your basement, or if you want to serve a particular area that you just think is popping or it's happening or something's going on in that community, you can do it from pretty much anywhere in the world. We recommend that you do it in somewhat close proximity to wherever it is that you live or that you can get to, because you might want to meet with those businesses, right? So even if you don't have a local presence, that's why we recommend doing it this way.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. As we close the show today, remember, faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal to the metal. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyon and Drew Griffin. Thank you so much, brother, and God bless you.
Paul, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyon, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.